I don't expect everyone to know or care about what's happening in New York, you know? Which is why I was surprised that the nation seems so gripped by New York City's mayoral race. Like, this, people talk about it everywhere because I think it's just feels like a beta test for something bigger. You know? In case you're not familiar with who's running, right? You have to understand who's running to understand what's happening. Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City. And Eric Adams, in case you don't know, is one of the worst people at corruption I've ever seen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, have a little mystery about you. Like, it's just, I feel like I could pay him off, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like, one day when they make, like, his corruption is just, it's not enough, you know what I mean? If you're gonna be corrupt, go all in. He'd be having me feel bad for him. You know what I mean? You did all this corruption, that's all they gave you? You should have asked for more. It was very upsetting. If they ever revisit this chapter in New York mayoral history, everybody gonna be disappointed. Be like, flights? He went down for flights? Just tickets? You know what I mean? You had a dude in Illinois at least going down for gold bars. That's real corruption. That's like cartoon corruption. You know what I mean? Like, he took it back to the 50s level corruption. Break me off some gold bars, I'll get you anything you want. That's mustache twiddling, tie women to railroads corruption. That's crazy. And you over here embarrassing us as New Yorkers. This is a very rich city, and you going down for a couple flights to Turkey. Turkey! It's insane. But anyway, this dude got indicted while in office, but because he has no shame, everybody was like, he gonna step down, right? Like, he got stepped down once he's indicted. That's too embarrassing to go to work indicted. The closest thing I can imagine to, like, okay, okay, this is bad, my bad. Look, so when I was a kid, I mean, I was a little bit older, but my buddy's dad got in trouble, and he got a little time. He had to do like a year, right? But he did, one of the crimes, I still don't understand this, one of the crimes where you get to report to jail. Like, you get to report to, that's always weird, because whenever you watch Law and Order, they take you like, jail start right after usually that's jail, you know what I mean? Like, usually they take you out, I didn't do it, right? But for some reason, they told him he was guilty, but they let him, get his stuff in order, and he could report to jail. And that weekend, his son, my friend, took the car without permission and came home a little later than curfew. And clearly, his kid may be like acting out of frustration about things that are going on with his dad, but he gets home and his dad's very upset with him, and he's like, you didn't ask for permission for the car, you're supposed to be home by 10, I'm sorry, but you're grounded. And my buddy was like, no, I'm just throwing it out there, because which one of us got to go to jail on Monday? Like, it sounds like you grounded. It sounds like you really the one in trouble here. And that's kind of what it felt like with Adams. He's like, still trying to be a mayor, talk about crime and stuff. Over here talking about crime in the city. And so then you also have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis Sliwa is the Republican running. And he's an interesting dude. He's like the head of the Guardian Angels. If you don't know what the Guardian Angels are, they're basically these people who hang out on the subway. You know the movie The Warriors? All right, it's like that, but if one of the gangs wanted to be the police. Like, all they really do is just fight black and brown people that they think are doing a crime, and sometimes lose the fight very badly because they are getting older. And Curtis Sliwa, like, I guess I could slightly see how someone like him ends up like him, because he does have a story of violence against him for every story you bring up about New York City. Like, you'll be like, hey, do you ever take the yellow cab? He's like, I was shot in the back of a yellow cab in 1986. And you're like, how has this much happened to you? But Curtis Lee was running as a Republican. And then you have Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is a former governor. And now he is running for mayor because governor turned out so well. And then you have Zoran Mamdani. And Zoran Mamdani almost feels like a fixture of politics at the moment, because he is someone who seems to be the antidote for the thing that's been ailing the Democratic Party maybe for like 9 years. You know? This is a dude who is running on what he will do and his own policies that he believes in. And it's one of the first people, Democrat or Republican, that is running without really having to say anything about Trump. He has his own ideas. He has things he wants to do for the place that he is running. He's not running on being not like Trump or closer to Trump or someone Trump will call or someone that Trump hates. He is not using Trump in his orbit. People bring him up, but he himself is saying, I want to make the buses fast and free. I want to have free childcare. I want to freeze the rent for rent-stabilized homes. And I want to make sure that we hold bad landlords accountable. Things that are very specific, because that's the other thing that it feels like the Democratic Party has been missing, is a clear and concise plan for a policy, something that you can attach yourself to, that you don't really need to get in the weeds for. Because I'm not saying that Democratic senators and Democratic candidates have not had good plans. I'm just saying that once you need a graph, we are a country that doesn't like to read. It doesn't matter if it's a pie chart, it's still reading. Because one of the things that they've come after Mamdani about over and over and over again about his policies, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to do this? How do you plan to pay for it, right? And one thing that he's done very well is had a quick and simple explanation for his plans to pay for something, So when they ask him about maybe the bus system or maybe more rent stabilization, he'll say, oh, we already spend this much money. So for the buses, he's like, we already generate $700 million in a bus fare. I think that would, is clearly money that we could use towards a free bus system. Also, all we have to do is raise the corporate tax rate and we'll have billions of extra dollars that could go towards childcare, billions of extra dollars that could go towards like a bus system. And then they're like, well, how do you plan to pay for it? Raising the corporate tax. Well, what will happen? If you raise the corporate tax, people will leave. Where are you raising the corporate tax to? And they'll be like, oh, I'm just raising it to the same as New Jersey. Like what they already do right there. Like they actually already do it over there. I guess you didn't know that, but it's already, I would just copy them. It wouldn't be higher than that. Like I would copy what they do over there. And I don't know, is everyone dead in New Jersey? I don't think so. I don't think everybody left. In fact, a lot of people moved there. So I think they'll be fine. But I don't think that Zoran is leading in the polls or is the Democratic candidate because of his clear and concise policy. I don't even think it's his youth. I don't even think it's because he's captured a moment. I think that he is the front runner because he, more so than anybody else, to a degree I've never seen before, is the number one. I'm telling you, the number one of all time, the number one Andrew Cuomo hater. He hates this dude. He hates this dude so much. He hates this man. He wake up and hate him. He wake up and he hate him with a smile too. You ever had somebody hate you with a smile? It makes you feel crazy. You're like, what you just said to me was foul, but you smiling. Why are you smiling? No, he hates this dude. And look, don't get me wrong, they all hate him. Like every candidate hates Cuomo. Eric Adams hates Cuomo so much that even though he had zero chance of winning, even though he was actually campaigning, this man was like, look, I'm gonna do it better next time. And we're like, do you mean crime? Do you mean? Eric Adams, he's even, look, to his credit, he is stumping with Cuomo. He's over there side by side with Cuomo and everything, probably looking for a job because he's about to be out of one. You know what I mean? Like he is out there with Cuomo, but you can tell he hates this dude. Sliwa hates him. Curtis Sliwa hates Cuomo. He hates Cuomo so much that he was actually asked by a reporter, you know, you're over here getting about 11% in the polls. Why not drop out if you don't want Zoran to win that much? Why not drop out? And clearly the people voting for you might also vote for Cuomo. And then Curtis Sliwa looked really offended. He was like, why would I drop out? People like me. This man is running as a Republican in New York City, and he's still like, I'm not gonna drop out if it helps him. Zoran Mondani hates Cuomo. He hates that dude so much. Hates him so effectively. Real hate. I've never hated somebody so much. I learned all their stats. Zoran hates Cuomo so much, he memorized everything Cuomo ever did wrong and bring it up any chance he get. That's generational hate. I think Andrew Cuomo hates Andrew Cuomo because he running. It's like, why are you putting yourself through this? You know, man. Because then you look at the debates. Okay. This is very important. I gotta go back in the story for a second because Andrew Cuomo wasn't always hated. Even if you hate him right now, think back to a time where you didn't even know who he was. That time he was like beloved. People forget all about it because that's kind of what we do whenever somebody has lost favor in the public eye. A lot of people say they never liked him or that they don't really know why anyone ever liked him. But people loved Cuomo, especially 2019 into 2020. People loved that dude. People loved Cuomo so much. I think that's why people hate him so much now. Because everything he did feels like such a betrayal of their love. You know, people were out here calling themselves Cuomo-sexuals. Look it up. That's a real thing. People loved him so much. And then he got popular around the same time that like zaddy became a term and everything. So he was riding some of that wave and stuff. And you know, there were people, oof. Cuomo couldn't go anywhere without middle-aged women fawning. They were like, oh, he's so handsome. They loved Cuomo. And then COVID came. And for a little while, they loved him even more because New York's numbers during COVID looked really, really bad initially. Obviously, it would. It's an epicenter of travel. People go there from all over the world. And we're also on top of each other all the time, pandemic or no pandemic. But then we saw these huge numbers that scared everybody. And Cuomo was like, we're going to take this seriously. We're going to lock everything down. And he announced a bunch of policies. As soon as he announced those policies went into effect. And you saw the numbers crater. It was genuinely amazing to watch. It really felt like there was a lot of hope and everybody was going to live. And this is a long time before the vaccine came out or anything. So it was when people were at peak fear, right? But it was a wild time in New York because we had shut down so effectively that for the first time in New York City, the air was clean. You could take a deep breath. And then later, there was a scandal. Basically, it was exposed that Cuomo was doing some of the same things that Ron DeSantis was accused of doing in Florida, because Florida also had some pretty good numbers during COVID, which is weird because they didn't have any real shutdowns. They didn't have any real mask regulations or anything like that. But then both Cuomo and DeSantis were caught just not reporting or telling people not to report certain numbers. And it turned out that New York was looking really, really good in certain sections of the lockdown, except for nursing homes. And so the thing that's really important about that is that if you see the numbers going down and you've set up a bunch of policies, you'll think, okay, we should just keep doing this, see if the numbers go down further, right? If the numbers go up, you're like, clearly we need to change something. So because we did not have those markers of spikes, we didn't change things. And so there were a lot of seniors that died that didn't need to. They died in nursing homes because of protocols that just didn't have enough evidence around them and weren't the best practices, right? And he was covering it up. Some were saying by 50%, right? And so people started to like him a heck of a lot less. And then at the same time, basically in tandem, he was accused by about 11 women of sexual harassment. Then it was 13. That's stats. Those are numbers. Double digits, you doing it. You are clear. 13 women who don't know each other all got a story about you. That's you. You doing it. All of a sudden, nobody was Cuomo-sexual anymore. And everybody was telling this dude to resign, but he tried to fight it. He was like, I'm gonna fight these allegations. You're gonna see my name's gonna be cleared. And we were like, all right, but even if they clear your name on these sexual harassment allegations, you still did the nursing home thing. And so everybody from Joe Biden to Eric Adams was telling this dude to resign. And he finally resigned 2021, and now he's running for mayor. That's just important to make sure you know, because I've watched people struggle before in a way that was kind of what looked like a bit of a lost cause. I try to be optimistic for people that are in my life, but I'll give you an example. My buddy wanted to enter an arm wrestling contest, and we are built the same. I'm never going to tell anybody not to follow their dream, but I won't let someone sleepwalk off a building. And so I was like, are you sure? Because, you look like a mirror right now, and I'm not entering any arm wrestling. But he's like, no, I want to do it. Been watching online, it's so cool. There's actually a tournament coming up, I want to go. And so, I went with him. We went, and this dude squares up. It was one of those ones where they got the peg on one side, so you grab it, and they got your arm with the pad for your elbow. And sure enough, they went. And as soon as they started, he was over here. And I couldn't believe that this man was actually winning. He was like pushing the arm down, and then he won. I was surprised. Like when people got that farmer strength, You don't see any like real definition of muscle. It's all smooth, but they're incredibly strong. I was like, maybe that's him. And then I watched him from round to round. This man got to the semifinals. And at the semifinals, somebody walked up who really did look like a final boss. In my head, I was like, you've done very well for yourself. It's time to pack it up before you, before he take that arm for good. It's gonna pop right out the socket. I'm gonna leave with one. And sure enough, he squared up. And then they told him to go, and he, But this was different. This dude wasn't really moving, but he was really strained, even leaning a bit. And then he started to make noises he hadn't made in the other rounds. Once you scream in an arm wrestling contest, you have lost something. This man, and he's straining, and he's straining, and he's straining till finally he goes, and he won. Now, to be fair, he won because the other guy went, and apparently that is a disqualification. And even when we were in the car ride home, we did have to leave. He didn't get to go to the finals because even when we were in the car, I was over there trying to be optimistic. I was over there like, at least you won. I give you an example of how much Zohran Mamdani hates Andrew Cuomo. In the first debate, right? In the first debate, it was Curtis Lewa, Zohran Mamdani, and Andrew Cuomo all on stage together. Really, the race is between these two, but every once in a while we throw Curtis a question. And Cuomo's talking, and he goes, look, this is not a job. Being a mayor of one of the richest, biggest cities in the country is not a place for on-the-job experience. You know, this guy's never had a job before, and I don't think he can run the city. He definitely can't run it like I can. I can do a much better job. This is not a job for experience while you're in it. You gotta know, you gotta come with plans of what you're gonna do. And then, to his credit, Zohran, you know, it's like, I do have plans for what I'm gonna do. I've stated my plans clearly. Your only plan is to attack me. And Cuomo also came at him with a couple of things that are like talking points that a bunch of the candidates have used that they're not really clicking for me, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have enough Islamophobia to have it register. But one of the things that Cuomo brings up is like, this man still, you know, won't denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. All right? You know, he's over here lobbing accusations at me. He still won't denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. What Andrew Cuomo is referring to, supposedly, is a time where someone else said it, and Zoran didn't, I guess, tackle them. This isn't language that he used. It's not something he said. It's something that someone else said that I guess he didn't do enough about in Cuomo's eyes, right? Mamdani responded, well, look, you're talking about things that are from 2020. And since we're talking about things that are from 2020, I don't know why, people would elect a mayor who sent so many seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. What I lack in experience, I make up for in integrity. And for what you lack in integrity, you could never make up for in experience. And I've never watched any debate like a rap battle. I was sitting in front of the computer like, oh! No, it's wild. Even Curtis Lewitt got in digs on Cuomo. Cuomo was catching it from all angles. Because then, they were talking about the accusations that had been lobbed at Cuomo during his time as governor. And Curtis Lewitt goes, really? You spent all that money defending yourself? Really? All 13 women are lying, Andrew? All 13 women? This man hates Cuomo so much, he is standing up for women as a Republican. This dude hates Cuomo with all his heart. Oh, this dude hates Cuomo so much. And then the second debate was even worse. There was a moment in the second debate where the candidates were allowed to ask each other a question. It was just question and answer. They couldn't go back and forth. You just got a question, you had to answer. And Cuomo went over on Mamdani and he was like, you took a picture with this leader in Uganda. Did you know that this leader is actually someone who denounces all rights for gay people? They've actually worked on making it illegal to be gay in Uganda, and you took a picture with them. And Zoran answered, listen, at the time, I did not know this person's policies. I took a picture with this person. If I had known, I would not have taken that picture, full stop, right? And then it was Zoran's turn. And Zoran asked, he was like, Mr. Cuomo, in 2021, you were credibly accused by 13 women of sexual harassment. And in that time, you spent $20 million of taxpayer funds to defend yourself from all of these women. And you've lobbed, lawsuits, and you've worked with judges for gag orders and everything. You filed defamation suits on all these women. You have actually tried to obtain gynecological medical records of some of these women. Well, one of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is actually here tonight in the audience. And she can't even tell her story or speak for herself because you've lodged a defamation suit against her. But I can speak, so I want to ask on all of their behalfs, what do you say to the 13 women that accused you of sexual harassment? And it's in that moment I realized I wasn't hating to my full potential as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I am a C-tier hater when it comes to this level of hate is unprecedented. I thought Kendrick hated Drake. This is truly wild. Because what can you do if you're Cuomo? I'll tell you what he did. He went, You went to Uganda? Truly, I have not seen a face like that on a person. Like Andrew Cuomo's face when it was happening. I hadn't seen anyone make a face like that since my friend won his arm wrestling contest. I feel like the same thing was happening to Cuomo that happened to my buddy. Very bad. Whew. And Zoran is still leading in the polls, And one of the reasons that I think that he's still leading is because some of these efforts to stop Bondi have only helped him. Only helped him, because billionaires have come out in force against every policy and against Zoran as a candidate. And that says a lot. They're like accidentally making him more popular. You know? President Trump even said that if Zoran wins, he may have to mobilize the National Guard, take over New York City, which would be not just like a spit in the face to an open, free, and fair election, but what messaging does that look like to you? That you might have to send the National Guard and take over a city if the dude who wants free pre-K wins? You know? Like all their efforts, they've spent so much money. Zoran himself has said, y'all are spending way more money on ads trying to campaign against me than I was even gonna tax you. You don't want it that bad, and why don't you want it that bad? That's crazy. There's something happening here, and I think that's why it's got so much tension across the nation. I think that, you know, America's very good at telling a story, and America is a salesman unto itself. It's like a salesman of a dream and of an idea, you know. And people, you know, one of the things that Trump and other people have said about Zoran is that he's a communist. He says he's a socialist, but he's a communist. And maybe that would have worked like 20 years ago. That might have worked. But we are a capitalist country. We all live in capitalism. And it's going poorly enough for enough people that they're willing to try anything. So calling someone a communist, this sort of Russia red, China red scare, it just doesn't hit the same when people are working jobs and still can't afford to feed their families. And then along comes someone with not just a lot of energy, but a lot of hope that says it doesn't have to be this way. Look at what they do over there. If we just did what they do over there, we'd be able to have more things for us, which is our money anyway. A lot of people have this misconception that the money that a corporation makes is all theirs and was all earned. But they got that money from how much they pay their workers, how much they actually provide for their consumers. And you see that when left up to their own devices, they skimp on, let's say it's just food, they skimp on ingredients, they skimp on workers, they skimp on. And then one day when they have $1 billion valuation, we look at them as if to tax them would be taking their $1 billion instead of just taking back what is owed to the people that made them great, you know? And so I think that what is so scary for people about Zoran that really don't like him is that he is a reminder to a lot of people that you are a citizen, you're not a consumer, you are a constituent, you're not a customer. Like the story that gets told now, especially by our politicians, is that if you ask for what is owed to you, what is actually yours, you're asking for a handout. But you already paid for these things and you pay them. So the idea that these people would all stand together in unison against this person who just wants to make the bus free should tell you something. And all of them stand together against him in the way that they are, with all the money they're throwing at him and with all the fear mongering that they're doing. It's having the opposite effect, because now to vote for him, even if you don't even like him, you get to stick it to a billionaire, people you already don't like. So what you've accidentally done is made voting for him like kind of cool as well. It would be like if you didn't want someone to date someone else, but the way that you lobbed things at them, the things that you said about them to try to discourage this person from dating this other person, would be like if you sat them down and said, oh, you don't want to get with him. No, his penis too big. He's just... You don't even want those problems. You don't. I try to be an optimistic person, I really do. But this does feel like a weird year to have Christmas.
This feel like the type of year where you gonna go to bed December 24th and wake up and it's December 26th. You know what I mean? Not just Christmas, all the holidays. It feels kind of wild. All the holidays. It's like, all right, I guess we gotta try. All of it. I don't know a single person that's excited for their holiday coming up. Everybody's like, and I gotta do this. No, not at all. You know, I try though. Try to bring some of the joy back, some whimsy. You know, I've been going to the mall in every city that we've been going to. If I can make it to the mall, I go to the mall. Y'all remember the mall? It's like Amazon with rooms. And when I go to the mall now, especially this time of year, I look for Santa. You know what I mean? Because nobody's going to Santa anymore. It's actually really sad. Like no, you go to the mall and no one is going to Santa at all. It's like we've lost it socially. Like it's not happening. Even when you look at social, you're seeing less and less people post pictures with their kids with Santa and stuff like that. Like we're just not doing Santa. I don't even know if they tell kids about Santa anymore. It seems like they don't tell kids about Santa. My friends have kids. And I don't know a single kid that's like, oh, I'm hoping Santa brings me. All of them got an Amazon wish list. They all. We've lost it. We've lost that like touch of whimsy. We have, you know, now the kid knows. The kid had the wish list, had it all picked out, emailed you. And now if everything not on the list, they're like, I guess times must be tough. Like the thing, this is what Santa did for our parents, right? Santa was this little gap where like some real magic could happen. You came up with your list, right? And you were polite. Because Santa's a stranger. You don't want to come off greedy. And so you would write down a few things that you would love for Christmas. You would even scratch stuff out. People would pour, like kids that I knew would pour so much attention over, they would stress over their Christmas list. They would go over and over again, they scratch stuff. I know I actually want that. You see this little piece of paper, by the end of the day, it was unrecognizable. So many scratches, and then writing over, and then scratching, and then misspelling, and now you gotta rewrite it, because what if you misspell it, and Santa doesn't know what that is? You know? And so, you would write this letter, and then your parents would be like, we'll mail it to Santa for you. You're like, thank you so much. You already doing a lot. That trip to the... I remember my mom was like, I'll send this to Santa. And I was like, you really a saint. You know that? Like, you are, because you knew I wasn't going to make it to the post office on my own. Like, you really doing me a solid right now. I'm going to go back to playing with these blocks, but I won't forget this. You a real sweetheart, you know? Truly. And then Christmas would come, and the presents were wrapped. And even if you stayed up, there were a lot of parents out who were too crafty. You couldn't catch them, you know. Yeah, you think you were staying up too. You would think you were like, I better go to sleep because if you're awake, Santa won't come, which was kind of true. I was like, all right, okay. And then, you go to sleep. I remember one time I went to sleep. This was Christmas Eve. Went to sleep. Woke up middle of the night. I was terrified. I was like, he gotta know this one not my fault. Like, he gotta. And I woke up because I needed to go to the bathroom. And so I was laying in bed and I was like, I think I'm gonna have to wet this one. I think I'm gonna have to. It's not worth Christmas, all right? You know, I can try to hold it as long as I don't dream about water. I think I'll be all right, but if I get up and then Santa hear my feet, that might be a wrap for the whole year. I've been good all year, not for nothing. I was good all year, and you know he was watching this stuff, so I'm probably gonna get everything that I asked for, so I can't risk that over a little tinkle, you know? And so then Christmas Day comes. Wow. Christmas Day is here. You wake up excited for Christmas, but even more excited that you see sunlight. It means you can finally pee. And so you bust out of the bed and you run to the bathroom and the door is closed. Someone's in there. And you're like, all right, I've waited for hours. I guess I can wait a little longer. They come out of the bathroom. They're like, Merry Christmas. You know, there's no time. All right. You rush past them, slam the door. You come out. After you wash your hands, you're like, I'm sorry about that. All right. I've been dealing with a lot. Christmas morning, it's time to open presents. You sitting there and you see a bunch of boxes. You see a bunch of boxes, and some of them aren't even boxes. Some of them just gift wrap lumps. And the lumps worry you because you're like, I don't think I asked for anything lumpy. I don't know. This might be for somebody else. He might be confused. You sit down, and maybe every family does it differently. Maybe each person opens a gift and they all take turns, and you're all like, that's great for you. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe you get to open all yours and someone gets to open all theirs and everything. And I was the only child, and I was the first grandbaby in I think a decade or something. So it really was like my mom, my aunt, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa were all in on Christmas for just me. I was so blessed that they really were excited to see me open these gifts. I didn't have to I never had to fight for that sort of attention or anything. They were very excited to see my reaction, right? Which is a blessing. And let's just call it a double-edged sword. Because now, without me realizing, there's a bunch of pressure for me to like every gift because each gift was from one of them, you know? And so I started opening gifts. And, you know, there were some years where I was very blessed. I had a bunch of gifts, some years where I got a few gifts, but they were exactly what I wanted, you know? So I started opening gifts, and maybe my grandma would hand me one and be like, this is from Santa, you know? I'd be like, all right. I'd start opening it. And I remember the year. A Nintendo 64. I didn't know how unproductive my life was about to get. I didn't know. I was about to have a rough year in math. Because they got me an N64 and they got me Diddy Kong Racing. a true N64 classic. I didn't know it at the time, but I was a part of history. I would lose thousands of hours like many children to a game where you could either play as a plane, a car, or like a little hovercraft tubing thing, which really didn't make any sense. Like love that game so much. I played it for hours Christmas Day. And then, I didn't play it right away. There were other gifts to open. This was a beautiful Christmas, right? I remember I got handed one of the lumpy ones. It also said from Santa, right? And I was like, okay. And I opened it, and it was 2 shirts. Not to sound ungrateful, but as someone with shirts, I was like, ooh, okay, wow, and it fits me just right. I know he wrote Josh, but he must have meant another name. This needs to go to someone who doesn't have shirts. It's just... Because then when you would open these gifts, you would think back to when you went to see Santa and you told him about this, and he was like, oh, yes, that sounds doable. Well, if you've been good this year, then you have nothing to worry about, right? And then you would think back to that thing when you open the gift and you're like, oh, this is what he was talking about. He said I didn't have anything to worry about and my man came through. And then, as the years pass, you find out. You find out, and like Christmas, it doesn't necessarily lose its magic. It just morphs into a different thing. Because one thing that my family would do, I don't know about anybody else, because there are some families where I completely understand. I really don't judge how you try to enjoy the holiday or raise your family, but there are some people that I knew growing up who Santa didn't come to their house because their parents were like, no, I got it. Oh, please believe I didn't work overtime to give the credit to the man at the mall. No, daddy got you that. I remember one time my friend was my friend's dad was talking about it, and because he had said something about like, but what about when Santa comes? That's like all I heard in the conversation. But what about when Santa comes? And he was like, Santa work 1 month out of the year. I work all 12. I'm handling it. I remember this is like right at the cusp of me finding out, right? So this is like right before I found out, okay? But I remember being like, I was still a kid. I wasn't like itty bitty. I was where you start putting it together. And because, I come from this area in the South, I come from Louisiana, and I'm blessed to be raised by all of these educators and everything, and just like living down south, you'll experience it sooner or later. And then sometimes your parents try to shield you by arming you with the knowledge of what the world is like before you have to experience a part of it yourself. And so I was being taught about segregation, about how my grandmother was treated when she was a kid, about what laws there used to be in the place that we live. That they were telling me how this thing wasn't that long ago, that people would try to make it seem like ancient history, but a lot of those people are still alive for it, which means it's more recent than they're comfortable with, you know? And I was finding out about segregation right around the time that I saw a black Santa and a white Santa. So I remember going to the mall that year and seeing Santa, and he was white. And I sat in his lap like all those other years, you know, and I don't know, I was just thinking to myself, as a little kid, you know, I was just thinking to myself, like, yeah, this is progress, you know what I mean? Like, we always... Because also, you're so little when you were going to Santa, especially in the 90s, when you would go to Santa, that it was a whole other year later. You didn't really put it together that this Santa didn't look like the last Santa. Santa would change it wasn't until I had almost figured it out that I was like, oh, Santa, how you been? This man's like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, you just, you know, you just look a little different than, like, what different, how do you mean? And it's like, that was on him. That was like follow-up questions. It's not my fault anymore. How do you mean? I was like, oh, you don't know? And I guess if you don't feel different, you're not different. But yeah, last time you just had, you know, a glow about you. You know what I mean? Like, because not everybody had the same loving experiences with Santa that I did. I'm aware some people had their bad, you know, their bad experiences. You know, like my friend wrote a letter to Santa because that's how his parents had him do it. Like they were like trying to teach him letter writing and penmanship and everything. They were like, you got to write a letter to Santa, and the letter to Santa has to be clear, it has to be legible, and you have to write it like a letter. Dear Santa, say exactly what you want, and make sure you sign off sincerely yours, your name, right? Write a letter. And so he wrote a letter to Santa, and then he didn't get what he wanted that year, and he was so disappointed. You know, that the next year, this is what they made him do every year, the next year he wrote a letter to Santa again, but instead of making requests, this time he was just sort of airing his grievances. He was just sort of airing his grievances about the prior year, so he wrote this letter to Santa. He was like, Dear Santa, I'll kill you. You think you can play with me? I was good all year last year, and you didn't bring anything I wanted. You just brought me stuff that my parents told me that I should buy with the money from my lemonade stand. How are you gonna take their side over mine? Thanks for nothing. Good for nothing. Santa. Sincerely yours, Roger. And of course, his parents read the letter, And then he got in trouble. And he felt even more betrayed. He was like, "You read my letter to Santa? Is there no justice?" That was a private conversation. And he over here meddling. And so when I go to the mall and I see Santa, it hits different. I remember all of these like special experiences I had with Santa at the mall, right? And then I see Santa over there, and they don't even have him in prime real estate anymore. They got Santa in the back of the mall. They put him in the back, they put him in the corner. They put Santa in the mall the same places that the airport put Spirit Airlines, where they unless you got a ticket, unless you got a boarding pass, you won't find this area at all. Even with the boarding pass, you always in the wrong area. How you gonna have a terminal 4.5? You know Spirit Airlines, it's the Waffle House of airlines. I've actually flown Spirit plenty times, and I love to see a fight. I love to see a fight. Because here's the thing. And I know Spirit gets like a bad reputation because basically everything that is happening on other airlines is just happening on Spirit, but Spirit takes you to a place where you're willing to go to jail. Like you just like you're like ready. You know what I mean? You ready. And so a fight on Spirit Air, because I'll give you an example. I've seen a bunch of almost fights on Delta. I've seen a lot of almost fights on Delta because what Delta will do is that they will put your layover, they'll make your layover 12 seconds. So you'll leave, you did everything you're supposed to do. You got to the airport on time, you went through TSA, and then you board, and then you take off, and then you land. And you knew it because they did it on your other boarding pass. They were like, oh, the time that you're taking off is the time that you're landing. They're the same time. They're the same. And when you look at it initially, you're like, oh, I must gain an hour. No, it's no time zone difference. Yeah, and so then you land panicked. You land because you're missing it. You land and you're late. You're already late. And so you want to get off the plane as soon as possible. And you will ask the flight attendant even, you'll be like, as you're boarding, be like, I have a very, very tight connection. Can you please make that announcement y'all make sometimes about people who, you don't have to say my name, like people who have tight connections so that if people could sit and then let them leave first and everything so they have a chance to make it. So they have a chance. You remember chances? And I remember the last time I asked a flight attendant to do this because my entire group, we had such a tight layover that I was like, it is a significant amount of people on the plane that have to get to the next gate, which isn't close because that's also too much to ask. It would be crazy if you landed and you had to go next door, right? It's like, no, if you got a layover, the fun of a layover is running. You know what I mean? It's not a layover if you don't exercise. It's not a layover. Okay. This is probably gonna be where you turn on me, but look. There was a flight I was on one time where where we landed was my final destination. But those people had like a tight layover. So then they made the announcement. And when they make the announcement, I just sit. I do my best to just sit. Unless the person who needs to get out is like in the window or something. Now I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is also why it doesn't work. Because a bunch of the people that don't have the layover didn't all have aisle seats. Like you basically pushed a bunch of people into the aisle to try to get around them. We might as well all just leave now. You know what I mean? We're actually holding it up now by other people letting you be like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And like letting you pass where there's no room. Aisles weren't made for people. It was made for one person. So when someone's getting by, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. It's my bad. Sorry. You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. And so there was this family, tight layover, right? Not sitting together. Not sitting together at all. And everybody is doing the best they can. I'm not saying they should have planned and sat together or anything like that. Maybe there really wasn't the possibility. Maybe by the time they were buying tickets, it was just a bunch of single seats, you know? And so the family, which was like a big family. It was a Kevin McAllister amount of family. It was crazy. This family had every aisle seat down the entire plane, right? Like it wasn't a big plane. It was one of those where it wasn't just the 2 seats. It wasn't that small, but within the 3 seats, it didn't go back that far. It probably had like 30 rows or something like that. But it just straight up like 15 people together needed to get off to go to the same flight. And I knew that because they were talking to each other as we were landing. They were yelling like up and behind each other and talking to each other as we were landing. And they all had the shade up and they were all like, yep, we close. Like it was... And so then we land, they make the announcement, please let these people go, right? So then these people are trying to get out from their middle seat without the other person getting up. So before the other person can even offer to get up and get in the aisle to make room for them, they're like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry, right? If you climb me, don't say excuse me. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you give me, if I'm sitting. I'm sitting. I'm sitting next to you, sitting, like a Christian, sitting. And then you get up and you don't even know what you're trying to give me. You don't know if it should be the back or the front because you don't know how nimble you are, right? They're both bad in their own way. They're both horrible. Because if I'm sitting and then you got to get over me and now you over here just foot in front of the face and you just fighting to not sit in my lap. You over here, if I miss the lap, it's fine somehow. Everything is fine now. And I gotta sit there like that didn't happen. That's crazy. I don't know what's worse. I've had back and I've had front. Front is crazy, because front is a relationship. I've had people stand up middle seat, turn around. That's what happened on this flight. Turn around to talk to the person behind who's also in their party, and was like, we got 6 minutes. We got 6 minutes, and it's at another terminal, so we're gonna have to run, right? And then, before I can even unbuckle my seatbelt, okay, I'm sorry. 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 Climbed over me front facing. Whole time I got posted up like this, posted up elbow. Trying to block something, falls on me, then gets up, gets in the aisle. I was like, where are you going? We married now. And so they were running, right? all running out and everything, because they all pretty much did the same thing. Some of them were nimble, some of them were like, you know what I mean? All running down the aisle. People actually were sitting and not getting up and letting them go. There's a real show of humanity, you know what I mean? I guess the other people on the plane were like, yes, we are here, so we'll wait the other 30. Usually society falls apart in that moment, you know? But let everybody get off. And then in first class was someone who I assume was the grandfather figure of the group, but they hadn't sent the wheelchair down the jet bridge yet. And so Grandpa was sitting in like row 2, aisle C, watching his family run, and then one of them bringing up the rear was like, Grandpa, come on. And he was like, did you forget? And you can see it's like, I don't know, this is me projecting, but it felt like a very like son-in-law situation. Like the way that Grandpa was talking to him, it felt like he married in, because this, unless he just really doesn't respect his own blood like that, this was crazy, right? Did you forget? And then he's like, okay, I'll see if they can send a wheelchair down and everything. And he was like, go without me. Just go. I don't know what trip they were trying to make. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely, there are some people who save up for years to go somewhere exotic, somewhere they've always dreamed of going, or maybe they want to bring their family. There are some people who get the opportunity to go places because it's being gifted to them. There's someone that's bringing their whole family somewhere. I can't imagine the stress this family was under to just be scrambling off the plane like that, right? All I know is that this man, he said, go without me. And this man cupped the back of his neck, knelt down and tried to put his arm under his knees, and got ready to try to pick Grandpa up and run with him. Panic is one thing, but like, never let panic give you confidence. Because look, I'm just telling you what I saw, I'm not judging, but Grandpa was built like Santa. And bro was built like me. So the idea that he was gonna pick this man up and run down a terminal to a terminal in 6 minutes is a delusion. You have a spell on your mind if you think you're making it. He got Grandpa legs right about here. Grandpa over here. And we all heard it, because they being loud too. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing implies I don't want to be picked up. What are you doing? You know what he's doing. You grown. You know what he's doing. But what are you doing is your way of saying stop, right? And I don't know. He believes in himself. He's trying to make the flight. He bends his knees and gives it a shot. It's crazy when you pick somebody up, like, I don't know, marriage style. I don't know what this is, but like when you pick somebody up like bride style like that, their eyes and your eyes are like level, right? And so Grandpa over here. Now son-in-law straining. Now he over here. I've never heard somebody muscle tear through their voice. You know what I mean? It's like, Are you done? This man said, put me down. To be fair, he had never really lifted him up. Lower the legs down and everything. And then he was like, go. Son-in-law over here. They bring down the wheelchair. I have no idea if Grandpa made it or not, you know? I don't. I just wondered if like maybe a different airline would have brought a wheelchair faster. Maybe as an airline they only got one wheelchair, so then people have to share frequently, you know? It's tough. It's tough. Back of the airport. Back of the mall. I was walking in the mall. I came across a Santa. No line. No line at all. And really, truly, like, I don't even know when the last time it was that somebody made going to Santa part of their Christmas card. Or I saw it on social, like baby's first, you know, visit to Santa, anything like that. So it does make sense. There's nobody here, you know? And so I was like, I'll take a picture with Santa. I do that. Sometimes I'll take a picture with Santa, especially if it's a situation like this. This dude is gonna be here for like 8 hours, and he can't be on his phone. Santa can't be on his phone. So I'm like, let me just, you know what I mean? Support. You know, he's done a lot for me. Let me do something for him. And so I walk up, and, you know, I gotta register, you know, you gotta purchase it from the elves beforehand, because you know, capitalism, right? So I walk up, and all right, I've done this a few times, right? I've gone to the mall, seen Santa, taken a picture with Santa, right? And how do I put this? They are nice to me in a way that's disrespectful. You know, so I walk up to the elves, and I'm like, hey, I'd love to take a picture with Santa today. And they were like, what package would you like? I was like, oh, I'll take the digital package with like 2 printouts, right? Just so. And they're like, you sure you want to do it today? Because I'm going to be honest with you, that's not even the real Santa. Like, he like, no, for real, he like a low-key backup Santa. Like, he's, you know, real Santa got food poisoning. He called in sick, so they called him. But like, and I was like, well, I'm only here today, so yeah, let's do it. He's like, Are you sure? Then the elf pulled out a picture of the other Santa with another family and was like, this is what you're missing out for. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a better Santa. Like, it was like, nah, he had like a twinkle and everything. It was crazy. Like, I don't know if he used Visine for that or something, but just, you know what I mean? Like, you could hear it. You could hear, you looked at the picture, it felt like you could hear his dimples. You know what I mean? You know? I was like, well, no, I'm here today. Let's, you know what I mean? Like, my man over here by himself, let's take a picture, right? And they were like, all right. And then I walked up to Santa, and this is my thing. This is what I'm talking about being too nice. I'm a grown man. I told you my name. You don't have to call me buddy this much. This is, we get into some real disrespect here. You know, and I know I don't do myself any favors because I walk up and I guess I'm not presenting like this is just gonna be a chill. I'm excited to see Santa. And I think that's what starts us off on the wrong foot because he's sitting there and then he see me coming and you can see in his eyes, he like, what always hurt me is they look behind me for a family, and they and then, you know, I walk up, and once again, yeah, don't do myself any favors because I bust in there. You know, they got the little fenced off area within the fake grass and then all the presents in the tree and stuff like that. And then the trail leading out that is to a line that nobody's in, right? So I walk up and I walk up a little fast. There's no line or anything. I don't know a good pace to walk. I'm not running, but like I'm walking. You know what I mean? I know where I'm going, and y'all made that snake line like it's gonna be the bank. You know what I'm talking about? They got extra fence like there's gonna be a line. There's no line. So then I'm trying to get to it. It's awkward. He's sitting over there. He a maze away. I'm just getting it over with, right? I'm sure from his perspective, because he's being still, it look like I'm running, but I'm not running. I'm walking. I'm walking with some pace, right? But then I walk up, and then as soon as I get through the gate, and I walk up to him like, "How's it going, Sam?" And that is too much. That now he doesn't know who he dealing with. Like now he extra nice because he's unsure. You know what I mean? Man over here, and this is my thing. I know we two grown men, but like you gotta stay in character. You know what I mean? Like, cause I roll up, I'm like, "Hi, Santa," and he's like, "Oh." You are supposed to say ho, ho, ho. How do you do the exact opposite of your literal catchphrase? I'm like, "How you doing, Santa?" "Oh." How are you? What's your name? And then I was like, "I'm Josh." And I know that by using my thumb to point at myself, I know that was a wild move. If you use your thumb to point at yourself, you probably don't do everything yourself. If you're using your thumb to point at yourself, you're probably 12. You're very proud of a certificate you just earned or something. It's like, "What's your name?" "I'm Josh." "Oh." There it is again. Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? And so, you know, He's sitting there, and there's a chair. There's a chair. There's nowhere else. You have to sit in Santa's lap. It's part of the experience. You do. And so the fact that maybe I seem eager, that's fair. I seem a little eager. And that's on me. I should be cooler about it. I should walk, you know what I mean? I shouldn't jump, yeah, so. But yeah, I go ahead, sit in Santa's lap, and, you know, he even had the little, like, yeah, like, he knows they built it this way. This is how you're supposed to do it, so that. And I sat in his lap, and admittedly, I should have started talking. Like, I shouldn't have just sat there waiting for him to speak or something. But and I know that everybody's doing their best. I never want to put somebody who's making an honest, just an earnest effort down or anything, but. His lap game was lacking. Like this, like I've sat in many laps. I've been serviced by many Santas, and when I tell you this man's lap was weird. Like this. First of all, so I sat in my man's lap, right? And I'd never felt anything like this in my life. It felt like the top half was Santa and the bottom half was elves, because like his legs were built like mine. Like he had the skinniest legs. So I can't even get comfortable. It's like he missing a lap. I'm like, you sitting down, right? Felt like I was sitting in between two rungs of a ladder. I was like, where am I going right now? It was at that moment I was like, maybe I should have waited for the other Santa. Like he just, you know what I mean? Felt like his lap would have had more cushion to it, you know? And then he's like, well, what would you like for Christmas? And I was like, Santa, I would love the Millennium Falcon Lego set, the one that came out in 2004 with about 3,000 pieces to it. It's very hard to find online, and if you could get me that would make my entire Christmas. And I think my specificity hurt me here, because once again he was like, oh! I was like, that's the third one. This man said, oh! Well, ooh. I hope that works out for you. I hope that works out. Where's the magic? I hope that works out for you. It's a crazy thing to say. Not it'll be there. Not I'll do my best. I hope that works out for you. Are you ready to take the picture? I was like, yeah, I guess, Santa. Like, he's over here phoning it in. And then you take the picture, and I'm over here. And he looking at the camera like, I'm not gonna see the picture later. Cause I'm grinning ear to ear. I'm with Santa. This man. Unacceptable. Do you know what I mean? Like what are we even doing? You know, like Santa should be battling, trying to fight back for the position that he has lost. Because he has lost it now. What used to be an experience that you waited all year to have is just a couple of clicks to a wish list, and he's left by the wayside. You would think that Santa would be excited to see anybody that was excited to see him. You know? Unacceptable. It felt like I believed in Santa and he didn't believe in me, you know? And so, you know, I get off Santa. Takes a second because he got, I don't know, it was weird. It was like I was so sunken in to the cushion because there was no lap or anything that I was genuinely like over here. Thank Santa for his time. I'm walking away, leaving the little fenced off area. And just as I'm walking away, one of the elves, I passed them and they were like, see?